Hey, it's your girl, the Northern Belle, Andrea Joyce. I wanted to thank you for tuning in each and every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock for Straight Talk with Andrea Joyce on Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, no charge to you at all. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. They even distribute your podcast at all the different sites like Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Plenty of more too. You can make money from your podcast and you don't even have to have a minimum listenership. Listen, it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So do me a favor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You won't be disappointed. Hey, and hello. Welcome to Straight Talk with Andrea Joyce. I'm so excited that you tuned in tonight to share with me in our working towards our better selves, right? Well, we're talking about different things. The last 2 weeks, we're talking about purpose. This week, I just wanted to, shoot the breeze with you, talk generally about some things that were on my mind. I wrote a book called 31 Ways to Self-Care. And as always, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and purchase your copy. It's available on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. And it's available on my website, www.authorandreajoyce.com. And the book is by Andrea Joyce, 31 Ways to Self-Care. And I was thinking today, and there are topics that we don't like to discuss because they're not politically correct. They're not without being offensive. But I wanted to talk to you. This is Straight Talk, right? And we can talk about anything. What was on my mind is who you allow in your circle. There's a part of the book where I talk about negative people. But today, not only do I want to talk about negative people, because you can have people in your circle that are not negative, they're just not good for your mental health. Unfortunately, some of those people are related to us. Some of those people are friends. Some of those people are tied to our job or our business. Some are in school with us. Some are our neighbors. So it's not like you can effectively shut down every person in your life that gets on your nerves. The other thing is God doesn't want you to get rid of some people, because remember, we were talking about God preparing a table before you in the presence of your enemies. So if your enemies, your haters, your naysayers, those that get on your nerves, those that backstab and betray you aren't around, how are they going to see the feast that God is preparing for you? Also known as breakthrough, deliverance, blessings. So I wanted to talk today, since we can't eradicate all the people that get on our nerves, which is a good thing, because guess what? Just like there are people who get on our nerves, we also get on other people's nerves. So can you imagine if we all had the power to eradicate who gets on our nerves? There would be nobody on earth. Think about it. You driving down the highway, somebody cuts you off. They've gotten on your nerves, so now you're going to eradicate them. By the same token, you're driving down, you're in a rush, you're not paying attention, you cut somebody else off. If you get on their nerves, they'll eradicate you. So I'm glad we don't have the power to get rid of people, and we should not choose to get rid of people in our own power and our own strength, because God definitely is up to something. He's using your life to show an example to somebody else, somebody who hated on you, somebody who said you would never make it and never be anything. So it's good that we cannot just get rid of people that way. But I want to talk to you about your peace. The thing that's important in life to know, the thing that's important in your life is to have peace of mind, to have peace in your home, peace in your company, peace in your business, peace on the job, peace in your car, peace on transit, public transportation, just to have peace. And see, we want to think that peace is when everything is going right. That's not real peace. That's having a peaceful experience. True peace, godly peace, comes even if the world is topsy-turvy, even when things are going wrong in your life, even when people have gotten on the last thread of the last nerve that you have, but you're still peaceful. You're still tranquil. You still have serenity. You still have peace. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, because there are some people in our lives that do get on that last thread of the last nerve that you have. Unfortunately, they're a part of your life. So what can you do to protect your peace? We've been talking about this a lot the last couple of years. Protect your peace, protect your peace, protect your peace. But I believe we've been teaching it wrong, because what people say about protecting your peace is to shut people down. Well, that's good if that's what you're able to do. But unfortunately, there's a lot of time that you cannot shut people down. You can't tell your boss to go jump off a lake or jump off a bridge and jump into the lake. You can't tell your mother to back, give you 60 feet. You can't tell your siblings, not today. I know you have a lot going on. I just don't want to deal with you today. First of all, it's a little rude. And secondly, there's something in you that they may need. So you shutting down, closing doors, turning off your phone, never wanting to talk to them, always avoiding them, always ducking them, hinders them from getting their blessing and their breakthrough that's stored inside of you. So you're looking at me and saying, Andrea, no. Now, I've heard to protect my peace by any means necessary, however I have to do it. This is where growth and maturity come into play. It's where you learn how to effectively deal with people, still protecting your peace, still not carrying their nonsense with you, still being able to peel off the layers that are affecting you because of them. And that takes time. It's nothing that's learned. Trust me, there are many times I just want to turn my phone off. I want to turn social media off. I want to turn everything off and just lay in my bed and just have peace. Just have quiet, not have to worry about bill collectors or bills, debt collection, not have to worry about making $1 out of 15 cents, not have to worry about this one who's going through that one that's going through this. I want to be able to shut it all down. And I don't mean just a day. I mean, I want 10 years of that. And you can't do it. We are meant to be around people. We are meant to care for people. We are meant to help people. We are meant to serve people. So you cannot effectively shut down your life for 10 days. A day, okay, yes, because we'll talk about that in the book when it's time to unplug. But we're talking about consistency in people's lives. We would all like to think that we have the power to pick the perfect person, the perfect people in our lives, so that way we never have arguments. We never don't see eye to eye. We always agree. It's always calm. It's never a storm. We would love that. But guess what? You can't choose your family. Not your natural family anyway. You're born into your family. You may be adopted into your family. You cannot choose them. You do choose your friends, but there's sometimes when you don't even choose your friends, they're chosen for you because of circumstances and situations. Let me give you an example. I have a very, 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 very good friend. Well, I would say that we're best friends. It's just that she's very busy in her life. So I backed up. Now, I had to get over myself, and this is a side note, but I wanted to say this. I had to get over myself because I felt that because she wasn't available for me and the things I was going through, she wasn't a good friend. But God had to later explain to me that that's not the case. She's just busy. So if I'm truly her friend, I should understand that she's now going through a busy phase, like I went through a busy phase and had to put her on the back burner. So never think that a person is not loving you from a distance. Never think that if you don't talk to a person every single day, they're against you and they're no longer your friend. They no longer have your best interest at heart. True friendship is being able to understand that people have their own thing, their own lives, and you won't always be included in that, but you're not excluded from their love and their affection for you, okay? So I wanted to just address that. Now, this friend and I have known each other since the 90s. I moved to Atlanta in 96, and I want to say I met her like 98 or 99. And we've been friends ever since, even through the silences, even through the busyness. We're still friends. When I first met her on my job, I did not like her. I cannot tell you if she liked me or she didn't like me because I wasn't around her to get her point of view on this. But I really couldn't stand her. I don't know what it was. She did nothing to me, but I just picked up something and I didn't like it and I went with it because remember, when I met her, I wasn't in God then. I was living the street life. I didn't know how to pray, remember? I only knew a couple of Bible verses. I knew a lot of Bible stories, but I did not put them into action. I didn't look at them as to help me to figure out my life. I didn't do any of that. So this is Andrea. Truly, true Andrea. Non-spiritual Andrea. So I went with my gut. I was a street, I know the streets, right? So I went with my gut. If I felt something, well, I wasn't messing with you. And I didn't mess with her. And I wasn't disrespectful. I just didn't talk to her. The thing is, in the company we worked with, it was a travel company. Our jobs directly affected each other. They had given her a promotion because had she been on the level of when I met her, we wouldn't have had to deal too much, even though it was a small company. So you basically deal with everybody that's there. However, they gave her a promotion and I was in marketing and our two jobs linked together. So we had to work together. And I guess, I don't know, she said something about the animosity I was displaying, the cold shoulder I was giving, or if our direct supervisor saw it, but she did. And she called me to the side and she said, hey, guess what? And I'm like, hey, what's up? Because, I was cool with her. She was like, I'm going to take you and your friend. She wasn't my friend then. I'm going to take you and her to lunch today. We need to have a lunch meeting. So that way we can discuss what the company is going to do, how we're walking into this new, because we had just been acquired. Well, no, not yet, but we had some new policies coming into place. And so I was like, I was so excited because I forget where we were going, but it was a restaurant that I loved and it was on her dime, the company's dime, not ours. But I was just like, oh, does she have to come? You and I could go and then her can go and then you tell us what you thought about the meetings. But we drove separate cars, thankfully, and went to the restaurant. So I'm giving myself a pep talk in the car, like, you can get through this. Just keep it business. Don't let it affect you. We get there, we sit at the table. Now, mind you, she has done nothing to me. I want to keep telling you that. It's just I didn't like her. There are people in the world who just will not like you, and you didn't do anything to cause it. Do not lose any sleep. Do not try to force yourself on the person. Do not even think about the person because it's not you, it's them. She didn't think anything about me. She didn't say anything cross, negative. She was always nice, nothing. I just don't know why. I told her from the moment that we became friends, I admitted this to her. And I remind her of this every couple of years. Like, I cannot believe I did not like you. And she's like rolling her eyes like, how many times? But it's just amazing to me how we can be out of sorts with someone for no reason. And I guess I had to go through it so that I could tell you this today, because there may be somebody who doesn't like someone and they've done nothing to you. They've said nothing against you. Also, be careful of people who tell you the story of somebody else, and that causes you to dislike them without you trying to get to know them for yourselves. It's very important for you to get to know people on your own. That way, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes when there is a situation that does not work in our favor, we blame the other person and we say all this negative stuff about them, and we don't want our friends to be friendly with them or friends with them. And it's really us. It's not them. it's us. And so I want to tell you today to be very careful of listening to other people who tell you about a person in your life. Let them do something to you, then you can back up off of them. You can not want to deal with them. But if they did something to your friend, that has nothing to do with you. I understand the friend code and wanting to have your friends back. However, you don't know how many bridges you may be burning, how many open doors you may be closing because you let somebody else's opinion affect yours. And so that was for somebody. We went to the restaurant. I want to say it was Houston's, because Houston's is one of my absolute favorite restaurants. Oh my goodness. I love the atmosphere. I love the music. I love everything about it. Anyway, so it might have been Houston's because I'm thinking as I'm picturing it, I see the restaurant. Anyway, we get to the table. We're sitting down. We place our drink order. We get our appetizers ordered and everything. Our supervisor has out her notebook, and I'm taking out my notebook because I'm going to take notes because we're going to have this great business meeting. She closes her notebook. She looks at me and says, "What is your problem?" Now, if you knew Andrea BC before Christ, stuff like that irritated the snot out of me. I immediately went on the defensive back then. Like, who are you talking to? I was that chick. Remember, I told you I had that other side. Her name was Angie. She was AKA the Incredible Hulk. So she was like, "What is your problem?" I immediately felt like a cat backed up against the wall. So my claws came out. My teeth turned into the vampire teeth because I was going for blood, right? As soon as I was formulating how I was going to tell her off and to figure out how I was going to get money because I was about to lose my job, she looked at me again and she said, "Why don't you like her?" And I looked at her like, "Oh, don't do this now. Why would you even do this now?" And I kind of took a breath because the claws went back in, the vampire teeth went back up. I kind of took myself off the wall and I looked at her and I said, "Excuse me." She's that kind of person, but she taught me a valuable lesson. If you don't like something, if you don't like someone, if you've done something to someone, be woman enough to say it. My aunt had always taught me that. My Aunt Mary, she did not give a care. If she didn't like you, she didn't like you. And if you came to her, she gonna tell you she doesn't like you. She never pretended. You knew where you stood with her. And I want to tell you, honestly, my daughter Danielle is exactly like my aunt. I crack up on the inside because she reminds me so much of her. And I'm just like, oh, how did I have my aunt? Because I would get on my aunt. I would be like, "You shouldn't be that way." And I used to fuss at her. So now I have a child and I'm sitting here like, oh, really? I cannot escape. So it taught me, if you're going to feel a way about a person, be prepared for when they come to you, because everybody's not going to let it slide. They're going to come to you sometimes and say, "What did I do to you?" They're going to come to you and say, "Did I offend you? Did I do something wrong? Is there a problem? Is there an issue?" And be prepared with an answer. Don't lie. Don't pretend like everything is good. Go out there. Tell the truth. Be honest. You don't have to be disrespectful. You don't have to dishonor anyone, but be honest. Don't sit there. And I always say this about people. Don't you dare talk about somebody behind their back. And when they come to your face, you pretend like you didn't do it. If you said it behind their back, be woman enough, be man enough to say it to their face. If you can't be woman enough or man enough to say it in their face, then don't say it behind their back. One thing people can tell you about me, things I say about them, I've already said to them. I'm just making a character reference as to, oh, yeah, she did this, this, and this, or she said this, this, and this, because I've already told them, you did this, this, and this. You said this, this, and this. You have no idea how many times people have put me on a 3-way call to think they was going to trip me up. And I was like, no, I said it. Yeah. And I told her that. And they said, well, yeah, she did. Be woman, be man about yours. First of all, you shouldn't be talking about people like that. You don't know who knows who. You don't know who's related to who. You have no idea growing up. My family is huge. Let's just remind everyone, I have 3 sides to my family. I have my biological father's side, I have my biological mother's side, and then I have my dad's side who raised me, okay? I have 3 sides to my family, and none of the sides are little except for my biological father's side. He might have the least amount of people in that family, and it's only because we don't all know each other. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of us, but unfortunately, because of the way they grew up and were raised, they didn't all keep in touch. So I have no idea. My mother's side of the family and my father who raised me side of the family, huge, lots of people. But here's what I wanted to say. I have a big family on my mom's side, the Stratford side. If you know any Stratfords, even if it's spelled with a T, they just might be related to me. Be careful. When I was growing up, I had cousins who were older. So they were in high school when I was like in elementary school. You know, up north where I'm from Patterson in Jersey, we didn't have junior high schools then. We didn't have, what do they have down here? Middle schools. We went from kindergarten to 8th grade, period. There was no breakdown. There was nothing. I remember growing up and my family would come together for Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, Mother's Day, maybe not Valentine's Day, but those holidays. We would all gather at my Aunt Phyllis's house and we would have this huge feast of food and music and drinks. And oh, it was beautiful. I remember having a friend who lived 7 blocks away. And her saying something, I can't remember how it goes because I might have been in 6th grade. I might have been in 7th grade. But she was running her mouth to me about some people or something. I wasn't really paying any attention until she said the name of one of the people. And my eyebrow went up. And I said, oh, so-and-so. And she was like, yeah, so-and-so. And I was like, what she look like? And she went to describing her. Now, this wasn't a good friend of mine. This was a okay friend. You know, it was like a church friend. I'm gonna put it like that. You know how you go to Sunday school with people or whatever. And so she was talking. And I let her talk. And when she finished, she said, what do you think about that? I said, well, what I think about is that you need to leave so-and-so's name out your mouth. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, that's my cousin. And her face, now she's chocolate like me. Her face went white. She lost all color out of her face. Because what could have happened was that I whooped off on her. She was good that I didn't whoop off on her. Because remember, these are my BC days. And it took nothing for me to lay hands on someone in the unbiblical way. And so she was like, oh, I didn't mean anything by it. I said, let this be a lesson to you. You never know who's related to who. So never get comfortable talking about anybody to anyone because you just don't know. You might be signing your death certificate. And I meant that. Now, I was very protective of family and I was very protective of friends. I was never that person who let a person talk about someone I cared about and sat there like, I shut them down. First of all, I got all the information first. I got all the information. I want to hear everything they have to say. And then I asked this question, and I still do it now. Have you talked to them about it? Did you tell her? What did you say to him? I always ask that question. And they'll sit there and blah, 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 whatever they have to say or whatever. And then I'll handle it. See, I don't need my family member or my friend to come in and handle a situation because I'm there. I am their representative. So if you said it to me, it's just like you saying it to them. So I'm going to shut you down effectively. And there are times I tell the other person. There are times I don't tell the other person just because I know how they're going to react to the situation. But best believe if it comes to me, that's where it's going to stop. And I'm going to handle it. I used to have a problem with people who didn't have the same respect. I used to have a problem with people who, if you're in with someone, that people feel comfortable enough to talk to you about me and you don't shut it down and you don't say something and you don't act on it because you're my representative, just like I'm your representative. But then it made me realize there's no need to get upset, Andrea. They just don't have your back because anybody who you called a friend or call a friend or a family member, that's just what it should be. There should not be them going back and forth, tee-hee-hee. Oh, her wig fell off, tee-hee-hee. No, you should be like, why are you looking at her wig? Why didn't you help her pick it up? Why didn't you straighten it up? Why didn't you help her pick a better wig? That's the responsibility of a mature family member and a mature friend. So if you have people in your circle, because we're talking about this, right, who don't fix your crown without letting the world know about it, you may want to ask, Lord, where do they need to be in my life? What category do they fit in? Do I really need them to be as close to me as they are? Do they need to be like, think of Jesus. He had 12, right? He had 3 that were in the inner circle. Who was it? Wasn't it Peter, James, John? Those were the inner circle. He took them everywhere, right? But there were 12. So that means there were 9 other people that he considered friends, that he trusted. In that 9, he had 1 who doubted him. He had 1 that betrayed him and caused him to go to the cross. Even in the 3, he had 1 that denied him, 1 who ran away. And God knows what happened. The other one was watching and peeking. So when it comes to, and don't ask me why I'm telling you this, but it's important for you to know that even in your circle, that you need to know who people are. You need to know who's the one I only need to go. Okay, can we be real? I don't even want to play with you guys today. I want to be honest and transparent. These are the friends I go drinking with. These are the friends I go to the club with. These are the friends I go travel with. These are the friends that come over to my house. These are the friends I tell about my relationship. I talk about my relationship to. These are the friends that I know I can count on if I'm in a struggle. They will pray for me. They will lift me up. They will encourage me. They will keep me. These are the friends that I go to when we got to go ride out at night with our black hoodies on. These are the friends that I can cry to and know that my business won't be put out in the street. You need to know who is in your circle and act accordingly. Andrea, why are you saying this? Because when you know who people are in your life, you would stand a better chance of having peace in your life. See, I didn't say you had to get rid of anybody. Jesus didn't get rid of Judas. He knew what Judas was going to do the first moment he selected Judas to be in his 12. It wasn't a surprise. Jesus is God. Jesus walked on earth as the Son of God, but he was God. He is God. So he knew when time began that he was going to create a man named Judas to come and betray him. He already knew this. This wasn't no surprise like, aha, I can't believe this happened. He already knew, but he took him in anyway because Judas had a purpose in his life. So your snakes have a purpose in your life, but you need to know who the snakes are so you can be prepared for when they bite. Yep, I need you to take a moment for that. Can I tell you something else? And I'm going to go back to the story.
My apologies.
Can I tell you something? Sometimes you are too close to a situation to see who people are for real. Sometimes you're so invested and you're so used to being the friend that you are, and everybody should be a friend like you are, that you don't see the snakes, the crabs. You don't see any of them. And when things happen, you are devastated because you don't see who they are. Now, I'm going to go back to the original story, but I got some other things to tell you right here in this space of time that we have. There are certain friends that are next to you, that are close to you, that are in your ear that you need to distance yourself from. You need to move away from their mouthpiece because they're bringing you down. They're bringing poison. They're bringing negativity in. And it's not that you have to cut them. Unless God tells you to get rid of them, then please do. But those are the ones you don't give your business to. You do not tell them that you're about to write a business plan for a $3 billion loan. You don't tell them that, because they're the main ones that are going to go against you, pray against you, talk against you, down you, make you feel like you're stupid and that you are doing stuff that is ridiculous and retarded, and keep that good 9-to-5 job where you make it $2 an hour because that's all you'll ever be. That's all you'll ever do. Nah, you don't give them that. Those friends, you can be like, hey, everything good with you? You all right? Okay, talk to you later. I know now in 2021 who I have in my circle. I know who I can count on to get a prayer through for me when I can't do it for myself. I know who my ride or dies are. I know who I can go drinking with. Yes, I said what I said. I know who I can go party with. I know who I can cry to. I know who I can entrust my children to. See, this is why you need to know who's in your circle. But guess what? It took trials. It took failure. It took falling. It took betrayal. It took backstabbing, backbiting. It took all of that for me to learn who was in my circle. See, you never know how people will react until they go through the fire with you. You will never know how people truly are and who and what they will truly be until you've been through something. See, we hate the pain of betrayal. We hate the pain of backstabbing. We hate the pain of rejection, or we don't get invited this place, or we don't. But that's fine, because that tells you who people really are in your life. That tells you where you need to place them. I say this all the time. When people come into your life, immediately ask God, who is this person? Where do you want them? What are they supposed to be up to? Remember, I told you, Jesus knew everybody's function before he called them. So why can't you pray and ask God, who is this person? Reveal this person's true character to me. Show me who it is. And not just in friendships, in dating relationships, business partnerships, every area of your life. You can ask God to reveal who people are to you. And guess what? He will reveal it. But here's the thing. And you're going to be mad at me. When God reveals to you who people really are in your life, it often comes with an example because they've done something to you. What do I mean by that? You ask God, is this my husband? Is this the man I'm supposed to be with? Everything is fine. He's buying you flowers. He's taking you on trips. He calls you in the morning, but then all of a sudden he stops calling as much. All of a sudden you can't go to his house without calling. All of a sudden he has stuff to do. He's so busy he can't even talk to you. And now you upset. Like, what happened? Why did this happen? Because you asked God to reveal to you who this person was. You have a good friend. She's there for you. She's your ride or die. You prayed and said, God, who is this in my life? Next thing you know, you accidentally get butt dialed. She's out with somebody else. And she's like, oh, that chick, her breast thing all the time. She don't brush her teeth, I don't think. Her wig be crooked. Oh, she needs some new clothes. And you sitting there laughing until she said, yes, that's Stephanie. And you like, what? My name's Stephanie. Is she talking about me? Now you want fight. But guess what? You prayed and asked God to reveal to you who people were in your circle. So be prepared when you pray to him or you ask who people are. Be prepared to get the true answer, the raw, uncut answer. I am now. I'm just sitting back. When you have a relationship with God and you're allowing him to direct your steps and order your direction, God will give you some truths, and baby, you better be ready to handle them. You better be ready to accept them, because he's not going to let you get played for a fool. How can he love you and allow you to get played? That's why I gave you the example about my family members and my friends. I got their back. You don't have to worry about me tee-heeing and laughing at your expense. I'm going to be tee-heeing as I'm calling you and say, this chick over here don't like you. I've done it to my sister. My sister has done it to me. I've had friends where I'm like, yeah, that's not the one you want. You're not ready for that. You don't want to go into that area of my life, because as soon as you go into that area of my life, they're going to chop you up like Ginsu knives. You don't want it. And I have those people around me. And God has blessed me because I've been through the trials. I've been through the fire. Now, hear me clearly. There are no perfect people. There are going to be people who are supposed to be in your life, who are supposed to be close to you in life, but they make mistakes. You have to be ready to cry, get the pain out, forgive them, and continue your journey with them. Jesus. I keep using him because he is like the best example of a friend you could get. He is the greatest example. Peter denied him. Listen. He sat at the table. We call it the Last Supper. He broke bread with this man. And he said, looked him in the eye and said, Judas, before the cock crows 3 times, I had to say that correctly because I know what was about to come out, you will deny me. Peter's like, I'll kill for you. I'll die for you. Oh, no, Jesus, you got the wrong one, son. Okay. Garden of Gethsemane. Judas kisses Jesus. Jesus said, okay, you've done your job. Take your money and go. Judas tries to accept it, but he winds up killing himself. In that same garden, Peter's like, nah, son, y'all ain't gonna do my man's like that. He gets his sword and chops off one of their ears. And Jesus like, no. Heals the man's ear. The man became a believer as soon as Jesus touched him. And Peter's like, so I'm just supposed to sit back? You know who I am. You know who I am in these streets. Peter's like, I'm just supposed to sit here and allow this to happen? And so they take Jesus away. And guess what? Peter follows them because, he's known in the streets. He's the Billy Bad backside of Jesus's crew. He's the one that will cut someone and ask questions later. He's sitting around the fire. This servant girl comes to him and said, do you know Jesus? You know him? Aren't you a friend of his? He's like, no, you got the wrong one. I don't know him. I'm just sitting here. Somebody else comes out and said, hey, aren't you one of his homies? You known in the street. You big in the street. They talk about you. You the one that cuts people first and ask questions later. Peter's like, no, you got the wrong one. Not me. The third person comes and says, hey, you one of his homies for real. You was just in the garden, right? He's like, no, you got me mixed up. I look like somebody else. We all don't look alike. But at this point, I got a twin out there somewhere. And as soon as he denied Jesus the third time, the cock said, cock-a-doodle-doo. And Jesus looked at Peter eyeball to eyeball, and Peter was ashamed. He was destroyed. He couldn't believe that he did the very thing he said he wasn't going to do to Jesus. But guess what happens? Because it doesn't end there. Jesus died, right? He was resurrected, correct? Went straight to heaven. Well, first he took a stop in hell, got the keys back, freed people, then went to heaven, right? But he came back to earth. He came back to earth and revealed himself to his followers, to his boys, to his homies. He showed his wounds so that Thomas would stop doubting him and believe. He hugged Peter. This is what I'm telling you. Peter denied him. Jesus knew he was going to do it. Peter did it. Peter felt bad. Peter was ashamed. Peter wanted to not be a part of this anymore because he had disappointed the very person he had been defending all these 3 years. He broke his heart. He was like, I'm not equipped to be a disciple anymore. I don't want to do this. But remember, Jesus said, on you, Peter, Simon, I will build my church. So even though he denied Jesus, even though he broke Jesus's heart, even though he disappointed him, Peter had an assignment and Jesus didn't forget. You might have done that, but I just needed to teach you that you're human. I needed to teach you that you make mistakes. I needed to teach you that you have faults, that you have flaws, and I need you to work on them. But I still love you. I still trust you to do what I asked you to do. You just failed that one time, but I got you. And you falling that one time is going to strengthen you to never fall again. So I'm telling you, there's some people in your life that have disappointed you. They've hurt you. They've broken your heart. And now you're like, I can't do it anymore. I'm done with them. But God is telling you they are human. They make mistakes. They're not always going to do the thing you want them to do. Who are you? You can't put stuff on people. That's not for you to do. You love them where they are. You trust them when you know that you can trust them. And allow God to do the separating. You don't separate. You allow God to do the separation. He's going to come to you, trust me, and say, that's a snake. No, that snake got to go. Then he'll come to you like, that's a snake, but that snake can stay. And you're like, but it's a snake. And God is like, yeah, I know. But that one has to stay. Then they can go. But that one, I need for your life. Don't worry about it right now. It'll all be revealed to you. And so that's why you have to be prepared to move the way God says. It doesn't make sense. You cannot put God in a box. You cannot put him in a place that always makes sense. It doesn't work, because he will tell you something today for one person and tell you the exact opposite for a person who did the same thing. I'm here to testify to you. Look at my life. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. It's been like that. Okay, so let me go back to the original story. So we're sitting at the table. She asked me, what's your problem? What's wrong with you? What's the matter? What's going on? And I looked at her. First of all, I was like, it's none of your business. That's what I'm thinking. But then I looked at her, the friend, and I was like, I can't honestly tell you. I said, it's just something. I don't know what it is. And so she said, in our company, there are very few people of color. I don't want the people of color that work there to not get along. Now, if she's done something to you, if it's that awkward, we'll have to do something else. She said, but I at least want to give you the opportunity, because in our business, we were the higher ups. You know, we had travel agents, but then we had the next tier. We were directly under the supervisor. So I was over my whole department. She was over her department. So we were up there, and we were the people of color. The only other person of color was a receptionist. So she wanted us to put our best foot forward. We actually got into that position because she fought for us to get into that position. So as a supervisor, she didn't want us to make her look bad for recommending us. And as a woman, she didn't want two women to be in a bad place. And as a person of color, she didn't want us to represent our heritage that way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I was like, okay. So we started talking, and she really, my friend, wanted to know why I didn't like her. And I said, I can't honestly answer that question. Something about you that rubs me wrong. And we sat there and had lunch. Our meeting was about 3 hours long. And when we came out of that meeting, I had so much respect for her that I had to change my thinking. Because what I thought was arrogance, what I thought was conceit, what I thought was having her nose in the air, was actually her being shy. And I couldn't believe it. She was actually a shy person who didn't know how. She was an introvert, whereas I forced myself to be an extrovert all my life. So when I tuned into who she really was, I was like, oh, I misjudged her. That's why you have to be careful and let the full story be told to you before you put somebody in a place they don't belong. This is why you pray and ask God to reveal to you who people are. Because I would have missed out on a very good friendship if I had let my first instinct be the one I went with, because it was wrong. There are plenty of times we are told, go with your gut, go with your first instinct. But if you're not in line, if you're not in order, your instinct and your gut is going to be off too. I wasn't lined up with anything. I'm just like, oh, this chick conceited. This chick is arrogant. I don't want nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with her. And come to find out, none of those things. She's the most humble. My gosh. If you saw humility in the dictionary, her picture would be there. She is not that person at all. She's just been blessed to have things. But she doesn't flaunt them. She doesn't try to push them out there. I promise you. And so that day forged a friendship that we have since 98 till now. However many years that is, I don't want to do the math. I suck at math. I keep telling y'all that, unless it's money. And so I told you that today because I need you to understand that there's some feelings and emotions that we have that aren't true. Not the emotions aren't true, but the basis for them is untrue. So we need to investigate and check ourselves to make sure that we're in line and in order, and it's not just how we feel. Do you know sometimes we'll feel blah, so people seem blah to us? There are other times when we're amped up and everything, and this person seems really, really, really amped up and great and wonderful. And then when those emotions change and you settle down, you're like, how did I get involved in this? How did I get linked to this person? Why are they calling me? We have nothing in common. So I'm telling you this in order to help you with you having peace. When you know who's in your circle, when you know who's in your life, it helps you to make decisions. If you know you have a friend that is an attention seeker and needs to be in the middle of everything, has to have all eyes on them, that is not the friends you want to talk to when you're going through a situation where you need them to listen. Every time you say something, they got a story. Every time you try to get back to you, they got to tell you about them. That's not that's not peace. That's a whole battle. You're trying to get out your story. You're trying to get out your pain. And all they can tell you about is how the time this happened. No, that's not the friend you call for that. Likewise, if you want to have a fun, exciting time and laugh, and that's what you need, you're not going to call the friend that is the misery lover. Woe is me. Pity party number 26. They're like Eeyore on Winnie the Pooh. Everything is dry. Everything is negative. Everything, the world is coming to an end. The sky is falling. Life sucks. That's not the person you want to call for that. So know who you have in your life that will help you have peace. If you know you have a strong, high-powered, always have to be right person in your life, don't go to them with a situation. Don't go to them needing advice, because they're going to tell you how they would do it. They're going to tell you you're not smart because you didn't do it their way. They're going to judge you and throw you under the bus. That's not the person you go to. You go to the person who can listen to you and be unbiased. They can hear the story and have the mindfulness to be able to see three sides of the story. They see your side, the other person's side, and then they see the truth. And they can come to you and say, okay, you may not like this. You might go in your bag on me. You might pop up your trunk, but this is what I see. And honor them, because they're not telling you what you want to hear. They're telling you the truth. I have a problem with yes men. I have a problem with yes men in my life and other people's lives. I don't like it. I don't respect it. Somebody who's always agreeing with you, somebody who's always saying, yeah, shorty, you could do it, and it doesn't make sense for you to do, keep them away from your business. Keep them away from your ears, because they're going to tell you stuff and you're going to look foolish because they're foolish. A real person, a real friend, a real confidant, a real family member is going to tell you your ish stinks when it stinks. They're not going to tell you it smells like whatever smells great. They're not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that what you did was right when you did was wrong. See, I grew up like that. I have a mother like that. To this day, she will tell me, Andrea, you were wrong. And growing up, I used to hate it. I'm like, why don't you ever have my back? Well, maybe she would have if I was making right decisions and right choices. Because definitely when I was making right decisions and right choices, she was like, yeah, that's it. I like that. That makes sense. I have a cousin who's my best friend, cousin, sister, who does it all day long. I could sit there and vent and be heaving and just about to bust and combust and just erupt. And she'll sit there and listen to everything and how I'm going to come out my bag at somebody. And that's it. I'm cutting their heads off with their heads. And after I finished everything, she'll be like, cousin, she has such a calm voice, I love you, but you're wrong. And I'll sit there and be sputtering, crying, snot balling. What do you mean? And I have never known her to yell. She will sit there, cousin. She doesn't even call me Andrea. She'll say, cousin. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And she will tell me what's what. And I will be mad at her. Just like my friend that I'm telling you about, she does the same thing. I'll be mad at her. Don't want to talk to her. I'll be like, okay, I'll talk to you later. And I will sit there and be like, she don't know. And guess what? After about 30 minutes of that, I sit there and I listen because she's giving me information. She didn't just say I was wrong. She told me why I was wrong, how maybe it could have been done this way. She gives me information. And so I sit there and I think about it. I'm like, I guess she was right. And I have learned to be humble, call back or text and say, yeah, you're right. Now, Andrea, 20 years ago, absolutely not. I'm not even going to front. Even when I knew I was wrong, you still wouldn't get an admission. My niece will tell you that. My children will tell you that. My mother will tell you that. My sister will tell you that. I would be like, yeah, they right. You're right. That's true. But I wouldn't come back to the person and tell them. I would just move into the way that they were flowing. I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to follow along. Not saying I was wrong and you are right, or I apologize to you. Now, I do that with my kids. I do that with my friends. But when it comes to other people, apologize to you. Hold your breath. But I have learned in order to have peace, even when I don't think I'm wrong. You hear that? You hear that? Because that still bothers me a little bit. I will still say, yeah, you're right. Because let me tell you why. And then I'm going to let you go. I have a cousin who's more like a brother to me. His name is Peter, and I'm going to call him out because it's funny. I'm talking about Peter, the disciple. But my cousin Peter is like my brother. We're 9 years apart. Yeah, we're 9 years apart. When I was growing up, I always got punished. I always got spanked. Because I was just hard-headed. I was stubborn. I was bullheaded. Hush, Regina, I can hear you saying, amen. But anyway, I had to have my way. I was spoiled. I had to have what I wanted when I wanted it. I didn't want to hear anything anybody else had to say. Bump you and your opinion. It was all about me and mine, right? And I remember I used to get so angry when somebody countered what I wanted or countered my opinion. I got so angry. I would have angry tears because it bothered me. It took me years to figure out why it bothered me. And one day we'll talk about it, but not today. He said to me, Jay, because that's the nickname he gave me. Actually, my nickname by him is Jaybird. He would say, Jay, listen, you're getting angry and upset and arguing with people. Why? And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean, why? Because they're wrong. Because they don't agree with what I'm thinking. And my thinking makes sense. And I was not a stupid child. Trust me. I was very advanced and intelligent. So I'm like, don't you see it? He's like, but why are you arguing your point? Why are you trying to beat their heads with your point? He was like, just say yes and go ahead and do what you're going to do anyway. And I looked at him. Pretty sure I looked at him the way the Israelites looked at Moses when he came out with the tablets, when he came out with the 10 commandments and held them up. I looked at him like, oh, wow. I have lived by that principle. I have matured because of that principle. And that's the reason I can say you're right. Even when I know you might be wrong, even when you are wrong, even when it's out of pocket, I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because guess what? You ultimately make the choice. You ultimately make the decision. So somebody can yakety and give you their opinion. But if you know it's wrong, if you know it's not what the standard is, if you know it's not what God told you, why are you arguing and fighting? You don't have to defend yourself. You can be like, oh, okay, cool. All right, I get you. All right, okay, I understand that. And go and do what you're going to do anyway. He gave me that advice when I was about 10 years old. 11, 12, 13, one of those. I can't remember. I have lived by that principle ever since the day it was uttered out of his mouth. Now, it took me a while to get comfortable with it, but I lived with it and I honor my cousin. He has told me many things, but that one thing is something that I live by today. It's something that I do today because he's right. Why are you arguing, fussing, and fighting to defend yourself, to defend your position, to defend your opinion when you're going to do what you want to do anyway? That's how I can get peace. Why am I arguing back and forth with you so you can see my way? I'm the one that ultimately has to make the decision. I'm the one that has to decide. I'm the one that has to walk into my choice. So just because you say it's blue and we clearly see it's green, why am I telling you, look, trust me, believe me, here's the information, here's the proof, it's green. No, you know it's green. Let them think it's blue. You say, all right, cool, I got you. All right. I hear you. I understand. And you move on knowing that it's green and walk into your green planning. I'm telling you that today because we're talking about having peace. There are battles you don't have to fight. There are battles you don't have to face. There are battles you keep putting yourself into when you don't need to. This is your life, not theirs. I'm just trying to help you to have peace in situations where people are around and you cannot get rid of them. They are directly involved in your life and you can't run away and shut your door and hide under. That's not peace. Can I tell you something? Hiding is not peace. Because now you're worrying, are they going to call? Are they going to come by? Are they going to bother you? True peace is not having to worry about who's calling you. Who thinks they're going to pop up at your house? Who's going to send you an email? True peace is knowing I've handled the situation. I've said what I needed to say. I did what I needed to do. I've been forgiven if I was wrong. If you were in the wrong. I've been forgiven if I'm in the right. And I did something or said something that hurt someone. It's being able to be good with yourself and know that you can sit in your space without worry, without fret, without fear, without condemnation, without negative comments and remarks, because you've distanced yourself from it. We'll talk more about this in the coming weeks, but I definitely wanted to address this as we're talking about self-care. You have to have peace. You have to. When you don't have peace, it ages you. It hurts your physical body. It hurts your mental health. It hurts your emotional health. I don't know why I can't get words out today. It's important for you to choose yourself and to choose your peace. There's nothing like peace, because even as everything is going on around you, you can sit and be content. Nothing like peace. Now, when you pray to God for peace, don't be surprised if a storm comes, because peace is not when nothing is happening that you're calm. It's being able to be calm in the midst of the storm. Think about Jesus on the boat. A whole storm was happening. They were about to sink. What was he doing? He was asleep downstairs on the bottom level of the boat. He was asleep. Storms going all around. The boat is whipping. Water's coming up. Storms, just winds, everything. He slept during the storm. The only reason he woke was because they came and said, aren't you terrified? Aren't you scared? Can't you do something? And he said, why didn't y'all do something? Speak to the storm. All Jesus did was say, peace, be still. And they looked at him like, he said, you had the power to do that, because everything I have, I poured into